In our current scenario, many of us find ourselves, at virtual crossroads, be it schools or organizations. I think what we also realize is leadership emerges during this crisis time. So we are here today to take this opportunity to make a positive, irreversible change, a change that will help us broaden the teacher's presence beyond the limitations of the physical proximity. So over the course of this session today, we will have an opportunity to listen to two such change makers, Neeta Luthria Rao and Payal Datta Gupta. So we welcome both of them. And before we begin this session, as is the general rule, we will go through some norms and housekeeping rules. So let's start with that. Yes. So here we go. Please keep yourselves on mute throughout this session. A request that if you have a poor bandwidth, please keep your video off too. If you have questions along the session, it can be typed in the chat box. And if you could write your name against the question, that would be great. And you have here a few more symbols that you could use when you're on mute. Coming to the housekeeping rules, please don't worry. We will share this PPT with you after the session is over an email. We would look at the initial list of resources that's also available to you. We will be addressing the questions at the end of the presentation. We will be giving you a minute after each of the panelists have spoken so that you can post your questions. And if you face any technical issues during the session, please do WhatsApp on the numbers on your screen, and this will be available in your chat box too. So I would now invite our executive director and founder of Adhyayan Quality Education Services and Adhyayan Foundation, Kavita Anand, to set the context. Kavita, over to you.
Thank you, Shruti. So a very good evening to everybody. I think we've all been pretty much stuck at home. So I can understand that everybody is in the same place right now, worried about what's going to happen, worried about schools and the fact that we haven't finished with the exams, haven't finished a lot of the curriculum, what's going to happen, when is school going to reopen, 100 thoughts going through our minds. And I think that's when, because we have such a large number of partner schools, of which we have schools which have been going on online learning, we thought that this would be a really good time to have this webinar. Adhyayan has been working now with 440 schools, and of them we have got 2 resource persons from 2 of our partner schools. The idea really is to look at what is good and look at actual practice and not make it something theoretical or difficult to understand. And I think you will find that both the facilitators will make that happen for you today. Be ready to ask a lot of questions. We welcome as many as you can possibly pose us. The lockdown created a threat to all of us in terms of our schools and what's going to happen in terms of the children's learning. But it's a big opportunity for professional development. And if we grab it with both our hands, I think it's going to make a big difference to where we are right now. I think that the parents of the schools which have gone online have got really tremendous gratitude, and great feedback has been coming to them, the schools. And so we look at this as an opportunity to do these following things. Listen to them carefully, create a professional learning community of schools, and all of us, we can continue to have conversations, continue to have webinars. They're going to introduce us to some tools and some examples from their own practice. And we have designed a diagnostic for you that you can use afterwards to assess where your school is in terms of best practice. So I think this is where I hand over back to Shruti so that we can get on with this webinar. And it's been wonderful to see all of you here, the most familiar faces and some new ones. So hello to everybody, and we start the webinar now. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Kavita, for setting that context. And the key word that we take away is realistic, practical. Though there are a lot of tools out there, a lot of technology platforms, but what is most important to us is to understand how do we contextualize these technology and tools to our own schools. Rest assured, the two panelists are going to do a great job in terms of actually showing you live examples of those tools, how they've been used in their own schools. So I think listening to their journey is something that would give us a lot of takeaways. I would like to introduce our first panelist and a change maker in my view, Neeta Luthria Rao. So let me just share the screen and give a face to what I'm describing. Sorry about that. Yeah, here she is. So Neeta, in her educational career, has been a primary teacher. She's taught Spanish. She's been a CAS coordinator for the IBDP program. She was in charge of the IBDP program at BIS and now head to primary. She's a senior assessor with Adhyayan and has led the Tech for Teachers workshop through Adhyayan. A passionate educator whose educational philosophy can be summed up just in two words: child first. So over to Neeta for the next 35 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Shruti, for that lovely introduction. Our school has been closed since, I will enable my video later. I've just switched it off so that all the bandwidth that I have in my home can be diverted to this webinar. So we've been closed since March 14. We were at first looking to be closed only for a week or so. At least that's what the initial communication was, but looks like it's not going to be at least until the end of this month. Who knows? But when I say closed, I just mean our physical closed. Our virtual school, I'm happy to report, is flourishing. I'll just give you a brief background about our school so that you understand our context. We are a small private school. We have classes from kindergarten to grade 12. While my school is an international school, but I'm proud to say that it is firmly rooted in the national context. We are a parent cooperative, therefore we are a not-for-profit. We do not get funds pouring in. It's a trust. We are now operating out of two separate campuses, one at Babulnath, which is our flagship school, and the other one is our junior school, which is at Churchgate. As far as our teachers and students and parents go, they're primarily Indian nationals. We do not really have the same kind of diverse nationalities as many other international schools. So how did we prepare? It was a very quick transition. We had very little warning about this, so there was no intense prior planning. I'm just checking the chat to make sure that I can be heard. Yes.
Yes, you're fine.
Okay. So on March 11th, our principal just mentioned to us that there is a possibility that we might be closing. There was no date really given, and we brainstormed then and there. Each section was given the freedom to decide how they wanted to plan, what platform they wanted to use, etc. So we had some inkling of it. Just so that the teachers would not be caught unawares the very next day. I communicated the same to the teachers, and we very quickly arranged for a brief training in the use of Google Classroom, because we decided that was what we were going to use. On March 13, the directive came in that we were going to shut, and we again very, very quickly, and that too over Zoom, trained teachers on how to use Zoom. Now, as the leader of the primary section, there were a lot of decisions that I had to make. So first of all, which platform would work best for us? From our school, in our school, from middle school up, they use something called ManageBack. So those coordinators had decided to stick with ManageBack as their primary mode of communication and dealing with assigning work for students. But we decided to use Google Classroom because the platform we normally use, Toddle, at that time did not have anything that could serve our purpose. So Google, because we use the G Suite range of apps, our school has the Gmail enterprise account, Gmail for G Suite for education. So we decided to go with Google Classroom. So there was a lot of debate about whether we should have synchronous learning or asynchronous learning. Because we are a primary school, we weren't sure how our younger kids would adapt to lessons on Zoom. They had never, I mean, it was strange for everybody, including the teachers. So we didn't want to get into it there. Besides which, we had other reasons. We wanted children to be more or less independent in whatever they were doing. So we decided we would adopt an asynchronous or a blended model. The third decision was whether it should be a fixed schedule or whether it should be free-flowing. Now, we wanted to ease parents into this as effortlessly as possible. So we discussed this, and the teachers and I thought that it would be nice for parents to have a kind of a schedule. However, we also assured parents on getting feedback that, they were not able to keep to the schedule, that they were free to pace out the activities, that the timings there were just suggestions. They were not things that they would be, either they or the children would be held accountable for. We've in fact now done away in the higher classes with even timings, and the students sometimes just make their own schedule for the day and pace out the activities the way they want them to. This question of how much work to give the kids, it was really hard to balance because, on getting feedback, some kids were just breezing through the day and saying that they wanted more. Some children and their parents were struggling to complete even the most basic assignments. So there was really no Goldilocks amount that we could figure out. So again, we communicated with parents and told parents, look, just do as much as you can. And if you need more, write to the teacher individually. We are not going to overwhelm the ones who cannot cope. So we keep a bare minimum there, and then parents who need more write into the teachers asking for additional work. A big concern for us was access and equity. We have quite a few students in our primary section particularly who come from lower socioeconomic sections. And we weren't sure whether these kids would have access to devices. We did know, of course, that all these parents had access to a mobile phone. So we wanted to keep things as simple as possible, which is another reason for having chosen Google Classroom. It can be operated very easily using a mobile phone. And the first week we sent out enough printouts to last the kids for that week. But then as we started assigning more work that needed to be printed out, parents gave us feedback that, look, I don't have access to a printer. So we then again adapted and decided to send assignments that they could just copy down in their notebooks or do solve on screen itself, so that they wouldn't have to print too much. Now, a big question also was screen time. They're little kids, and one is, as a school, our policy is to minimize screen time. So we didn't want to then burden the kids with too much screen time. So we included a whole lot of activities in our schedule that did not involve the screen. So we looked at a lot of screen-free activities. A question that the teachers, in fact, asked me was, how do we complete our curriculum? Now here, I reassured the teachers that they would not be held responsible for completing the entire syllabus for the year. These are unusual circumstances. And the other thing was that we can't expect parents to become the child's teachers. That's not what they had signed up for. So especially for the younger grades, we decided that no new content will be taught, especially in language and math. But grades 3 and up, as we, now this is our third week, we're finding that children are becoming fairly independent, especially in grades 4 and 5, and mostly in grade 3 as well. So we are now introducing in small doses some new content, but with the understanding that that this will all be done again once school reopens, and that it's not going to be taken for granted that this was covered this year, therefore. So what do our schedules really look like? I'm going to give you a glimpse of 3 grades, just to give you the kind of a cross section. So this is what the youngest kids' day looks like. From 8:45 to 9:15, they're going to have a fun hand clapping activity, and the link has been attached. Then they even have a virtual PE lesson. A lot of the activities that we do are things where they just need common household materials and don't require any, we realize that at this time it's going to be, it is very difficult for parents to even find common things like even coloring pencils and other stuff. So this is what we decided, that we will not make our activities complicated. As you can see, every single teacher is contributing to this, including the librarian. So she's also put in her own activities into the schedule. This is what our grade 2, sorry, that was our grade 2 schedule looks like. As you can see now, as the kids are a little older, we've even put in things like make your own bed. We thought this is a terrific time to get students to become more responsible, to help out in the house. So there are a lot of household chores that we've put in. There's a little bit of English every day. There's a little bit of math daily, but we've got some dance time. We've got yoga. We've got UOI is our equivalent of science and math. And look at this, like for instance, even things like instructions like wash your own plate after lunch. The Hindi teacher has been making little lessons for them. Our life skills teacher has been checking in with them. So there's music, there's everything in their lives. We've tried to make it as normal as possible. Similarly with grade 4. This is what a grade 4 timetable looks like. I'll tell you more about this Monday morning MMM, which is my Monday morning meeting. You'll see how that worked. But again, therethere's everything here, including a daily art activity. And now we're doing a lot more of these Zoom calls. But the purpose of the call is not so much to teach new content, but it is also to check in with the students to understand what difficulties they're facing. What further help do they need? So here's what, I'm just going to give you some live examples of what learning now looks like. So here is an English assignment assigned on Google Classroom. It's on figures of speech. This is for grade 3. Now, on Google Classroom, we have the provision that you can assign the same sheet. You can make, it makes copies of the sheet for every student. So the student can actually type, each individual student can type in their answer, and the teacher can give feedback. This is what a math sheet looks like. Again, the same thing. How do you do science? So here, one of our teachers has created a lesson. It's using a tool called TED Lesson Creator. Many of our teachers are using this for formative assessments. So what the teacher makes the student do is the student can watch the video and answer the questions that the teacher has put in. And the teacher gets the answers of each and every student after everyone has completed the assignment, so that she can check their answers and give them feedback. I must show you what our Marathi teacher has done. It's really so sweet how he's you know, some of our additional language teachers really needed a lot of assistance with using technology, but they're so thrilled now that they can do these things. It's you know, it's almost childlike, their own pleasure in their achievement, because this was something that they had never imagined that they would be able to do before. As you can see, and you know, he's done this so beautifully. The kids love it, and the fact that they can hear their beloved teacher's voice over this. There's even a provision used in this tool. This is called Screencast-O-Matic, where you can have.
Neeta, we couldn't hear the video. Was there a way to hear the video?
Okay. It was, you were supposed to hear it. I don't know why that didn't happen.
Yeah, it didn't. We couldn't hear it. So
okay. So let's see if the next video plays.
Yeah, sure.
So just to explain, since you didn't hear what happened, he took the cursor over every word. He had recorded his voice explaining the new words in a very, it was really beautiful the way he's done this. This is the art teacher. She wanted to, were you able to hear this music?
We aren't able to hear the music. We can only see the video.
Okay. Okay. Did that
happen
last time?
Yeah, we weren't able to hear it then as well.
Oh, okay. I think there's a setting, but where you can enable computer audio, but let me see if I can do that. I'm not sure okay, so we'll just imagine that there's some lovely music playing here, and the art teacher was introducing them to this whole concept of sketchnoting. And she had made this, and this is again a person who was so frightened of technology before this. She was like, she had no idea. For her, even she got WhatsApp just as a you know, point of interest. She started using WhatsApp 3 months ago. That was her level of technophobia, technology phobia. And this is really cute. This is our PE teacher having a PE session with the kids. So all the kids are in their own homes while he's telling them exactly what to do. I cannot tell you. I actually watched this session. I was the fly on the wall while this was happening. They were having the most fun time. It was absolutely amazing. Um, there are some more examples that I can show you of other things that we've done with technology, which have been absolutely, things that we hadn't conceived before. So there was this class assembly that naturally got cancelled, and the kids had prepared for it. So we didn't really want to disappoint them. And we thought, why not use this tool, which is called Flipgrid. It's already open here. So I'm just going to open to that screen. So this is something that we call open mic, and the children basically need to present a poem or some small a piece that they have memorized, and they can do that. So we use this tool called Flipgrid, where each of the kids recorded their own videos. This way, everybody has this record now of what they did. And you can leave comments, you can watch this again and again, and we've been able to share this with the community so beautifully. This next thing that I'm going to show you is I had mentioned something called Monday morning meeting, MMM. This is a tradition that I have at junior school, where I spend half an hour on Monday mornings, basically connecting with all the grades. And I either read them a story, or we discuss some current topic. It's a really lovely time, and we all enjoy it. Now, I was trying to figure out a way of making that happen, and Zoom came to the rescue. So here's me with my bachas on Monday morning, meeting, chatting with each one. You can't hear any of this, right? You're saying?
Right, can't be heard.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So here I am talking to them about. So we did a quick meditation, which is another custom. We start Monday morning meeting with a 5-minute meditation, and here I was talking to the kids about how we need to be grateful to all the people who are helping us during that time, and also spare a thought for the daily wage earners. This Monday, we looked at, we did the same thing with, I showed them a video of how difficult it is for kids to get to school in certain parts of the world, and the kind of risks that they take daily to just get to school. So it's a great way to get, it's been lovely, getting the reactions. The kids are enjoying the fact that they can be heard, because they write all their comments in the chat and I respond to them. And it really has been working beautifully. This other example is something that, again, I did with the kids. I'd seen something on Instagram called there's this hashtag called Global Heart Map, in which you're supposed to write down or draw a big heart and, tell people what's in your heart. What are you feeling? What are the things that are most important to you? And what are you feeling right now during this period? And I had drawn this. So I shared this with all the kids using Google Classroom. And during the assembly, I told them about all this and invited them to share their hearts. And here we are. Everyone's, the kids are, have all put in their hearts. And I love this. My heart is not complete without those who are not there anymore. I mean, it's just so beautiful. Some of them have, they've all put their hearts into it, in short. For this, we used a tool called Padlet. The best thing about using these technological tools has also been that we've been able to differentiate so beautifully. So on Google Classroom, you can assign work either to the whole class or individually to students. So we can send personalized assessments or material to certain kids. So if it's a gifted and talented kid, we can send extra enrichment sheets. If it's a kid who's struggling, we can scaffold the task for that child. It's been working beautifully. Our counseling team has been checking in with students. Our learning support team has also been able to have these beautiful one-on-one sessions with the kids thanks to technology. It's really great. Now, has it all been seamless? Of course not. There are multiple challenges that we've been facing. Obviously, the first being that, everybody has such different levels of comfort with technology, not just the teachers, but the students, parents, and even the leaders. So how does one, now I for one, and I have always been somebody who's pushed technology, but in my own school, despite me being such a cheerleader for technology, until this happened, it was very difficult for me to get people to convert. This kind of forced people to, and they are surprised at themselves. They're really surprised that, it's not that hard actually, and it's great. This access to devices was a huge challenge. So which is why our we have to keep adapting things according to the feedback that we get. Also, another big challenge is conflicting feedback. One parent tells you the work is just right, and or we want more, and then another one tells you exactly the opposite. Somebody's saying we're loving all the different tools you're using. Someone else says, hey, why can't we just stick to one thing? I've just about got used to one thing. Now why are you introducing another one? So dealing with all that can be challenging. Plus so it's but then when you get feedback like this, overall, this is, I'm just sharing with you what two parents have maybe said, but this has been, I can tell you, across the board. I'm not just presenting to you select stuff. I could have picked up the feedback received from any parent and put it here, and it would have been similar. The teachers have also really loved this journey. They've seen, I've had teachers telling me that, in some ways, this whole thing has been a blessing in disguise. How am I doing for time? I'm almost at the end.
You're doing fine. You have 6 minutes more.
Great. Okay. So I don't think I need 6 minutes, but here is, what really makes it so worthwhile. Hearing it from the mouths of babes. A student sent us this letter, and I can't get over it. She's this was completely, it was not even something that was assigned. They were supposed to start a gratitude book, and this is what she says about her school and her teachers, and it's really lovely. Now, the things that we've learned along the way, it's been enormous. One thing that is super, super important is supporting your teachers. As I mentioned, we have teachers who were completely unfamiliar with technology. One has to be really patient with such people because it's not their fault. It's just lack of exposure. And this is one thing that is very important for any leaders out here. You really need to do this. Also, collect this for teachers as well as the leaders, getting feedback and adapting according to the feedback and communicating regularly. Sometimes parents think of one thing, so you must keep the channels of communication really, really open. Similarly, connecting with students themselves, not just for work, but just generally. Hey, how are you doing? Are things all right? What's happening in your home? We've had families that have lost loved ones. not due to coronavirus, but generally. And, just reaching out to them and commiserating and saying, look, I'm there. I've got your back. It's all right. Don't worry about anything. It's been so important. And not to forget your teachers themselves and your colleagues, the administrative staff. It's so important to just tell them, look, you may not be, you are out of sight, but you're not out of mind. Very, very important. And come to terms with the fact that virtual learning is going to be different from face-to-face learning. It is not meant to replace it. It is another way, but it is not a seamless replacement. This quote that I'm going to leave you with actually says it all. I'm not going to read it out to you, but this actually says it all. And yep, I have said my piece. Thank you all for patiently listening to me. Over to you, Shruti.
Yes. Thank you very much, Neeta. Thank you for that lovely session. I think hearing you out, I think there are a lot of takeaways for both leaders and teachers. What primarily struck, uh, with me was one, the quick transition that you had, the very short time that you had, just about 3 days to transition
Yeah.
to an online piece. That was really, I mean, of course, a very difficult challenge, but the way you've like kind of explained how you've taken each stakeholder along and then try to, adapt on the go and see how we've been able to, kind of use so many tools. But still, you don't, you're not overwhelmed at the end of the day. Listening to you, technology seems so very accessible, so very doable. So thank you for that session. And before we move on to the next panelist, who would also bring in a very different perspective in terms of, how their school went about their online journey, we will take a pause here for just about a minute, and you could all post your questions in the chat box. Over to you, Neha.
Yes, so we have a minute. You can post your questions onto the chat box, and they'll be addressed at the end of the webinar. You're able to post in your question on the chat, and only the host has access to that. So just please keep posting questions. The time for 1 minute is up. Nevertheless, as the second panelist is also going to speak, you have questions crossing your mind, just feel free to put them into this chat box. A lot of learning is going to happen towards the end with sharing of ideas over these questions. So even if you feel that it may sound like a silly question, don't bother. We're all in the same boat right now. So just post the question. Yeah, over to you, Shruti.
Thank you so much, Neha. So let me put a face to the second panelist and introduce her as well. She's Payal Dattagupta. She's a senior program coordinator at Heritage Experiential Learning School, Gurgaon. Payal has been associated with HSLS in Gurgaon. She has a postgraduate degree from Presidency College, Calcutta, and she spent about a decade in teaching, teacher training, curriculum design, instructional leadership, and education management. She currently teaches the IBDP biology and also is involved in strategic initiatives for the international school. Uh, Payal is very passionate about school effectiveness research. She likes facilitating quality assurance and enhancement through implementing continuous school improvement initiatives. Over to Payal for the next 20 minutes. Payal? This seems to be a slight technical glitch.
Good evening, everybody.
Here we
I thank you, Shruti, for the introduction. And I'll follow Neeta and put off my video to preserve the bandwidth and also to avoid distraction on my part. So let me share my screen to get started with that. So before we take you through the journey of how Heritage took on the virtual learning program and shifted to a virtual mode of learning, I'd like to start with this quote, which we had shared with our teacher team when they started with the virtual learning process. You cannot overestimate how much structure and stability your physical classroom provided for your students. Keep it simple and be patient as you shift to online learning. Norms and structures have never mattered more. I think everybody could relate to this, and even students for that matter, because they realize the importance of seeing their teachers every day face to face and how much that matters for them as well. For the teachers, we asked them to be, for parents as well, the message was to be patient and to keep it simple in the beginning. And also to constantly reinforce the norms and structures that were done in regular classrooms, but that was more important in a virtual setting. So you can see, I'll take you through a quick glimpse of how the school moved from the regular classroom setup to a virtual mode. A little bit before that about our school. Heritage is a group of schools. It's K to 12. We have 3 schools with the CBSE curriculum. One of them in the Gurgaon, one of the campus, CBSE campus is in Gurgaon. The other 2 CBSE campuses are in Delhi. We have one international school which has the PYP, CAI and IBDP curriculum, which is about 5 years old now. And we've recently launched the new international campus, which you see on the left of the screen. That's the new campus that has come up for the International Primary School in Gurgaon. You could also see our constant updates on Insta and Facebook, which is being updated on the initiatives that are being taken by the school. Now, a couple of key decisions which were taken by the core group before for the launch of this virtual learning program. That's what we are calling it. Of course, it involved in the initial stages. It was a graded process of transitioning, definitely. Though with the closure, it kind of became with the closure and with the mandate, it became that we had to shift very quickly and get all the teachers to start using virtual mode of classroom. But however, in our school, we had started this process of exploring the blended learning models sometime back. It's about a 3-year journey, 3 to 4 years. The first step was to research about the best practices in the industry, learn about the blended learning models, and also do a lot of due diligence around the learning management systems that are available. So it involved selection and finally implementation of the learning management system to decide on a timeline, because the timeline had to be decided keeping in mind the training needs of all the staff in the school. It's not only the training needs of the teachers, it involves the training needs of the administrative staff, the leaders, teachers, students, as well as parents. How long does the training sessions with the teachers take? We created a graded version. We started with the senior school and then with the middle school teachers, and then we moved to the junior school teachers. The training with the sessions with the students was simultaneous, which we kind of started with each class, starting with the senior kids and then moving on to the smaller ones. A part of the use of a learning management system, which I will show you how it looks, what is the learning management system we use in our school and how does the platform look like, is about a lot of focus on building a lesson plan and choosing the right set of resources. Creating a repository of resources for the teachers, which is also which is being shared with the teacher community and constantly being updated with the new tools. And definitely one major important part of this initiative or this program is to have constant communication to the parents and students so that they are also able to use it effortlessly. Sharing of success stories with parents and teacher teams to keep the motivation going amongst the teacher team who are also exploring, some of the teachers are also exploring these tools for the first time. So to keep their motivation going, and success stories with the parents, which is there on our Twitter handle, on Insta, as well as Facebook. And definitely an important aspect is constant feedback from the parents. Every week we are seeking feedback about the effectiveness of how this virtual program is working for them. And with the help of the feedback, we are improvising and making changes and improving on the platform. So first question that we wanted to understand and we wanted to get a clarity on was about the blended learning model. And before we design the lessons, before we tell the teachers, it was an understanding of what does synchronous and asynchronous mean. So as the visual depicts, synchronous basically means that it is at the same time when you are interacting with the student and the teacher are on the same platform at the same time, which could be a mix of face-to-face as well as some offline tasks. Asynchronous would actually mean that you record a video and you kind of post it and the students can look at it at their own time. It does not have to be at the same time. So a major understanding that we got our teachers to develop is around this aspect so that they are able to balance and create a mix of both the kind of both synchronous and asynchronous lesson within one particular session. Here you see some of the glimpses of how the teachers are using the virtual learning platform, how they are designing and interacting with the students. So before we go there, let me show you how the LMS actually looks like. So this, what you see here is the learning management system that we use in Heritage Experiential Learning School and also for the international school. If you see, you will see for an administrator or for a teacher leader, one is able to see multiple classrooms here. And each classroom, when you go to one classroom, this is how the students are able to see a classroom, where each of the teachers associated with this particular class, they get to post these messages along with the lessons and any other tools that would be or learning materials. So if you see on the left hand side, you have posts, which are messages, then materials, learning resources for the class, stories and dashboard, grade book, who are the people, a lot of structures are given here. When you go to materials, you'll see this is the space where a teacher can create the lessons. So each of these, what is a nation, sociology, note making, all of these are basically lessons. When you go to a particular lesson, let's say I go to JavaScript, a teacher has built the learning targets, and then all you have to do is navigate from one to the other, one lesson to the other. This is just a glimpse of one of the classes that is there on the learning management system. Likewise, all the classrooms are built in for all the grades, for all the teacher teams. However, when we had to quickly shift and close the school down, we had to take a call is apart from the LMS, the learning management system, there had to be a video conferencing tool that we had to use, and we chose to use Google Hangout for that. So what the teachers do is they create the Google Hangout links for their classrooms and send it via the LMS. Because we decided on creating, doing away with the ambiguity of multiple platforms to communicate with students. So we kept it to one LMS, and all the communication with students happened through that. Here you can see teachers using Google Hangout sessions. Of course, it was not so quick. It had to, we had to design sessions for the teachers through Google Hangout to get trained on the features of Google Hangout. And that's how it took some time, but they quickly adapted to it, because obviously when there are no other ways to do it and the syllabus has to be taken care of and classes have to be continued, so they kind of took on the challenge. And you see, this is one of our senior most teachers, and she's very now she kind of surprised herself in the way she's been able to quickly take on this change. And multiple, and and every teacher keeps sharing multiple tools of using the Google Hangout video conferencing tool, and even to make it better. You can see all of the updates here. These are all the updates that we keep sharing with our parents. Now coming to how do we design? How do we use a Google conferencing tool, or how do we design a proper LMS or a lesson for a virtual classroom? Is basically we go back to the basic tenets of planning. It has to do with looking for the simple resources. What do we want to use? Then of course, step two, an additional step would be creating the Google invite and assigning some pre-learning tasks for the students. And that is an addition. Of course, there's a timetable that Leeta shared. We've also created some timetables for all the grades and shared it with the students. We have also factored in that in a virtual setup, we'll built in sufficient breaks in between so that they are able to sustain for a long time. Then of course, bringing as many graphics and animations and simulations and video. Also consciously keep on some interactive platforms like questions and feedback. And definitely the last is every session or every lesson should have a quick assessment to gauge the understanding that has happened, which could be through any kind of platform like a quiz, through Google or Kahoot or Edpuzzle. I'll show you a glimpse of some of the ways we have used the video conferencing tool. In Heritage, we always go by these 3 R's. We call it the core guiding principles of taking on any kind of a program. So it stands for relationship, relevance, and rigor. In building a virtual classroom also, we've ensured that our teachers also practice and design any lesson with these guiding principles. Relationship is about doing a regular check-in with the students, ensuring that their social well-being is also very important, connecting with them, getting them to talk about how they are feeling, sharing their experiences of how things are around them, what is their perception of it. Relevance is to use the context that they are in, the lockdown, the various news that is floating around, and building it as part of the lesson. And of course, keeping in mind rigor, which means there's a balance, that they know that there is a seriousness to these lessons. They have to set some accountability and they have to commit to that. All of those are built in part of the lesson. Now, I've just put a few glimpses of the use of the video conferencing. Again, when we're doing a class virtually, it has to have the same guiding principles, the basics, which has to be the same. The first bit has to be around checking in with your students to see them, asking them how they are doing, just a face connect, which really also now they also realize how important it is for them to meet each other, to be able to meet their teachers. Definitely about reinforcing the norms, because norms are, like I said, more important when you are not able to see each other. So reinforcing the classroom norms, setting the context for the session, setting the learning objectives, setting expectations with them. Then of course, having an anchor chart prepared, which could be through any tool. It could be a Google slide, and there are multiple features that Google have enabled. When you're using a Google slide, you can use a marker, you can use different tools of the Google Slides. So if you see here, I'm going to use the pointer version that Google Slides allow, which is a feature that they have added and shared. So you can use this effectively when you're taking a class to highlight. So having an anchor chart, chunking the content is also very important because it's very difficult to sustain attention for a longer span. So you chunk your content for every 15 minutes, do a quick check-in, give them a break, ask them to do something asynchronous, built in those balance, and create that structure. Last, of course, with chunking, you have to also build in enough assessment tools so that they are able to check their own understanding from time to time. This could be very well done through a asynchronous mode. With senior kids, it's very effective. They are very I have found a lot of engagement in the tasks. And of course, build a collaborative learning platform. So there is a Q&A section that Google Slides have enabled. You can use that. You can create the platform where each of them can ask questions. You can also create a classroom discussion. So built-in time for that. And lastly, of course, Neeta has also shared, this is another very good tool for collaborative exchange between students, is the use of Padlets, which can be used in multiple ways. You could use it as creatively as possible for any kind of task that you want to assign. And you can see all of the students reverting, and they can see each other's responses on a Padlet. Last, our teachers have been using a lot is the Google, sorry. Is the use of Google Forms or for the quiz. I'll take you to the link. So you can use Google Forms to create quizzes, and you can also manage the amount of time you want to assign for that. And if you see, you can quickly, once it is done, they can very well see their own responses if you enable that. You can get a quick analytics of how they have done, what are the scores, how many of them have attempted, what is their success in each of the question. And this can be shared. This is a very good tool for a quick formative. The very essence of formative is to quickly share feedback with the students. So these are great tools to explore in a G Suite, in a Google platform. And also it can be linked to the LMS that we are using. We can also quickly link all of these to the LMS. Okay, of course, challenges. Definitely, it was not as smooth as it sounds. Of course, there have been multiple challenges. The challenges still continue. We constantly seek feedback, and the idea is to keep on improving. First challenge, of course, is the differential level of preparedness on the part of teachers, as well as students are much quicker in grasping. They've taken very easily to the platforms. And this has been a graded plan, like I said, to work on the LMS. But of course, the work on the video conferencing tool was very quick. So there's a comfort level of handling different. So the way we have addressed it is providing differential training opportunities through Google Hangout for the teachers, and that continues. We continue that for a couple of more days so that everybody is comfortable. From the parents, a big concern has been about the screen time for the students. So which is what we are trying to balance with the balance between synchronous and asynchronous. Definitely with high school, there are multiple discipline issues which are coming up, which is students trying to play around during the video conferencing. And as that happens, we get to know about it. We are helping teachers to be more in control of the tools. So there are multiple features which we are exploring, and it is being dealt with like we are dealing in regular school environment. The multiplicity of platforms is confusing for the parents, so we have tried to minimize that by keeping to only the learning management system and all communications through that. That also has a parent app which parents can use in their mobile devices. So that is helping us to solve the problem of multiplicity. Now, key learnings, of course, keeping the positive communication going with students. considering the social and emotional well-being and the teacher's role in it. So we ensure that there is a regular check-in. We continue with the regular schedule, the assemblies, the morning meeting times, like the timetable, and ensuring that everybody gets to share what they are going through. So that's very important, and that has to be considered and given more importance during these times. Importance of setting norms, never been so useful. So constantly setting the norms and setting expectations for these virtual sessions to make it more productive. Importance of planning lessons. So if the resources are ready and if the teacher is planning, then the virtual classrooms have proven to be very, very effective. Teachers have come back and shared feedback that they find a higher engagement with the students, and the attendance has been, in some classes, have been 100%. So, which is very different from a normal school scenario, where rarely do you get 100%, but here virtual classrooms have a higher attendance. And virtual classroom can be a great form of engagement, like I said, if the planning is very robust and very if the planning is done well in advance, then it can lead to very effective classrooms. Before I end, these are some of the appreciation messages which have been coming from the parents, and more keep pouring in. We constantly updating our social media handles, Twitter, Insta, Facebook, with some of the experiences that the students are also sharing. So those are also some of the motivation that coming from parents and coming from students, which keeps the teachers motivated, and it kind of helps to carry this journey forward. It is just a start. There's a lot more to learn, but we are hopeful and very positive that this is going to make a paradigm shift in terms of looking at teaching learning aspect altogether. With this, I think I come to the end of my presentation, and thank you for being so patient, and thank you for giving the opportunity to be able to present what our school is doing in this, to create this alternate virtual mode of learning for our students. Thank you. Over to you, Shruti.
Thank you, Payal, for that very, very informative session. I guess thank you for bringing out those aspects of you know, planning, the decision making, and also to bring out a point that it's not about technology is not about just replacing what we were doing in the offline classrooms, but it's a very powerful tool in hands of the teachers, where it would give them more an advantage to deliver what they would do in the regular classrooms. It's also important to note that while you were sharing a whole lot of tools, it's just not about just picking up any particular tool and then kind of start using it, but how a whole lesson needs to be planned, how the teachers need to kind of put in a lot of effort, but a good happy effort, because they also see that the returns that they are receiving on virtual classrooms are far more than what they would have received in a regular classroom, be it attendance, be it engagement and things like that. So yes, quite a few important takeaways for the audience here. Thank you for that session. Now question time again. So we will take a pause here for about a minute and shoot away your questions on the chat box. We are so eager to see what you need to ask. And in the meanwhile, I'll transition to the slides. Over to you, Neha. I'll leave the timekeeping bit to you. You're pretty good at it.
Yes, the time has already started, and I'm just 30 more seconds. Yeah.
I think my slides need to get refreshed.
Yeah, if you can refresh your slides, you'll have the questions. Yeah, so we are ready with a whole list of questions. Shruti, will you be sharing your screen?
Yeah, I think my presentation's not got refreshed. Would it be possible for you to share your screen?
Sure, I can. Just give me a minute.
While we're waiting for the screen to come up. Okay.
Yes, you can continue.
All right, I just thought I'd share a small amusing thing, which was I read about the fact that parents are also very happy that the time taken for children to get up in the morning and get to school has been cut down. And so that makes a huge difference between face-to-face learning and virtual learning, because children can get up about like maybe half an hour before their school starts, as against 1.5 hours. So I thought that would be a good segue. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, in fact, that was the basis for my Monday morning meeting yesterday. That, you know, you get to school, you just have to open your laptop or your device. Look at what these kids are going through and they still are motivated.
Okay, so we have questions here, starting with questions specifically for Neeta. Then we have some questions that have been categorized as questions on tools, questions on parental involvement, and there's another slide also with questions. For the questions, we have Neeta, Payal, Pooja, Shruti and myself. So I think let's start with the questions for Neeta. Yeah, Neeta, you're able to read the questions?
Yes, thank you. Why did you not choose both synchronous and asynchronous approach, Sanya? Well, we actually transitioned to that now. We are doing some amount of synchronous teaching, but like I said, we are not trying to replicate classrooms. The purpose of this one-on-one interaction is less for teaching content. It's more for establishing relationships in primary. We don't think that a synchronous approach is the best one for young children because it's hard. They're not used to listening to teachers on a screen. They like that personal touch. So that was the reason. You wanted to know, Rose, more about students who had access to only mobile phones. What we did do is that, you know, we have this system at our school, which all our parents who come from weaker economic sections have got a buddy parent who kind of assists them with all their needs and, you know, is somebody that they can turn to. So we reached out to the buddy parents and said, look, this is your time to connect with your buddy and make sure that they are on board. Jayshree asks if my teachers call up one-on-one to check in. Yes, they do. Especially our learning support team, our counselors, but also other teachers. They do that, but our numbers are small. This may not be possible for all schools. Shubhadra was asking that my timetable seems, how are you catching up with the assessing of the work? A lot of the work we assign is multiple choice, fill in the blanks. So we often just send an answer key at the end of it because it's difficult for teachers also. You know, just as we are making a lot of allowances for parents and students, even teachers are grappling with a whole lot of other issues at their homes. So we are cognizant of that, and we realize that they cannot spend time, with mountains of corrections, and that too on screen. It's very hard for them. So we've kept corrections to the minimum. The rest of the questions, I'm assuming, are for everyone. So I will.
I can
Yes.
on the next one, yeah. So Jayashree asked that how did you prepare parents for the switch, guidelines and expectations? Yes, that was part of the virtual learning program, is to prepare a set of guidelines for parents, teachers and students. The guidebook that we've shared with the parents has the step-by-step instructions to be able to navigate the learning management system, as well as some of the netiquettes that they have to ensure that students are also aware of, and they have to consciously monitor that. Also, the guidebook had part wherein it was about the what are the guiding principles, and how easy it would be to move through to this platform, and the steps for that. So there is a set of expectations. That was the first step after the closure, is to share these set of instructions and expectations with the parents and students. We did same thing for the teachers, shared a list of resources along with that, so that they're able to use some of these tools for their classrooms as well. The next question from Parveen and Jayashree: since both the parents are working from home and they are using the device, how do we address that? What are the expectations? How often do you take feedback? So yes, that is definitely a concern that has been shared by parents. The number of devices and the accessibility, because both the parents are working from home and there's a need for a extra set of device. So it is that these things can be accessed through an iPad also, and the learning management system can be accessed through a mobile device, through a parent app. Apart from that, for the video conferencing, obviously, we shared with them in the guidelines in terms of the device specifications that they have to do, which went out. Thankfully, we had started work a little earlier, so it went out to them before the actual mandate for the closure came. So that bit, and also to specify the bandwidth requirement and the tool requirement that they have to kind of prepare before for these virtual lessons.
And in our case, Parveen, as you saw in our schedule, that our schedules are really flexible. We've given parents complete autonomy as far as what the child does at which time. So in case the child needs to, the parents and older siblings get priority when it comes to devices, our children can do it as and when.
How often do you take feedback? We're getting feedback. They are writing to us. We've provided a redressal forum. We've also provided a link for any technical difficulties that they might experience, to reach out to a team who are dedicatedly working on this. And we are also kind of taking surveys with the parents every week. So we want to know what they are going through and how to make it even better.
Likewise, our parents are, we're constantly eliciting feedback either through formal surveys or through the class parents, or parents feel free to write to me or to the teachers, and we authenticate the feedback, that whether it is a general thing or something limited to just one or two parents, and then take action. But the important thing is adapting constantly, because these are times like no one has seen before, and things are changing rapidly, and we need to be extremely agile in our reactions.
So Neeta, one more question for you is that since your school is using online teaching otherwise as well, I'd like to know how often the lessons are taught online during regular times. And that's one for Neeta, and in case Payal, you could also add to that.
Online, so our lessons are never online. In normal circumstances, we may use technological tools within the classroom that we use off and on, fairly regularly, yes. But we've never done this kind of teaching where the material is sent to the students at home to view or to learn.
So in our school, what we have, like I said, the journey of moving into this virtual learning program was a graded plan. We had started using the learning management system a couple of years back, and part of the use of learning management system is to be able to build on the asynchronous time, which is to share some of the pre-learning material and some video links and resources for the students to go through when before class or after class. So that is how we have used it. And also, like Neeta shared, some of the tools which were inbuilt during a session, during a active classroom session. But there was no need to move into video conferencing. Now, so with the closure, we've kind of started with that practice of using a video conferencing tool also.
Yeah. So there is a whole lot of questions on tools. Pooja, would you want to attempt some of them?
So, Pooja, I'd like to just take the one from Vimla.
Yeah.
About how having a lecture on Zoom without much chaos. Yes, completely possible, because Zoom offers a lot of, as I told you, I showed you that assembly, there were about 100 kids in that. So just as Neha is playing Neo, the Matrix handler over here, and muting and unmuting us, you can do that. Zoom really gives you a lot of control over your audience.
You feel in control of the entire bit. Okay.
Right.
Sorry, yeah, over to you.
Do you want
Sorry.
to answer the first one also? Can you share the tool you use for English?
English and Marathi. English, we use Google Docs. Marathi was something called Screencast-O-Matic. Pooja has created this beautiful document, which I think is going to be shared by all the participants with a little bit about each tool. So you'll get a lot of information. Any questions related to tools, she has answered them beautifully.
Right. Okay. So how do I post a PPT with a video on Zoom Classroom? It's really simple. Like, you can just share your screen. Another good place to go to learn Zoom is they have a lot of bite-sized tutorials. They also host webinars almost every day, which are free of cost. You can just go to the Zoom website and sign up for one at a timing convenient for you. And you will be super comfortable with Zoom. To be very honest, nobody has taught us also. It's a lot on your own, on yourself. So this is a journey for you to learn independently, but you can always reach out to us if you would like us to walk you through Zoom as well. Then the next one is,
Oops, sorry.
No problem. Are we going to get steps or tutorials to use these tech tools, especially creating worksheets, Zoom classrooms, etc.? Well, if
yeah, so I can address that one. Yes, we're planning to have a series of webinars on planning and learning these tools and actually integrating technology with lessons. Yeah.
One more thing, how do you post a video? I mean, like, my videos didn't work because I didn't realize that nobody could hear it. There is an option which I wish I'd realized that earlier. I would have shared my computer sound. I had no idea that nobody could hear anything, even in the previous webinar. But you can share the sound.
The next one is, my school has started something similar, but our challenge is mainly mathematics. Do you have any suggestions? So as far as mathematics is concerned, you can create quizzes online. Then you can use this very interesting software called Wiser, where you can create math problems, giving children real life scenarios and then posing questions. You can get them to illustrate a word problem and then show steps. They can voice record themselves explaining how they are solving the sum. So that's a really great tool to make math more interesting. It's called Wiser, and it's also mentioned on the sheet that we'll be sharing with you. But do check it out, it's free, and that would really make math more interactive for your students. And there are a ton lot of resources which we can share with you. Is there technological help all the time to handle any glitches or errors, or is it just the teacher who had to manage? I think Neeta and Payal would be better to answer this.
Payal, you go first and then. Payal? Okay, as far as our school is concerned, we do not, I mean, when you say technological help, remotely, obviously, the teachers do know who they can turn to if they have glitches or errors. Like just this morning, I was having a conversation with my Hindi teacher who wants to host a Zoom call, but she's really worried. So I have told her that, listen, when you're setting it up, add me to your class. I will be there to help you. You know, that in case you're facing an issue, I'll be there to help you. I don't want you to feel nervous and feel unsupported. Like that, we do have 1 or 2 teacher champions who offer their help. But generally, it is the teacher who manages. If they reach out, help is available. But it's all of us. It's not any major technological, no IT support as such.
Likewise, here as well in our school, we have a tech team of tech coordinators for the whole school, which is one teacher champion or teacher leader from each program, who are constantly they are conducting these training sessions for the teachers, as well as solving any queries and support that teachers might need to navigate this online platforms. The backend team, which is to do with the server and the bandwidth and all those scenarios, there's a team as well for that. For any glitches, they are the ones to reach out to. But we haven't had to do much with that actually. It's more to do with using how to use a Google Hangout, how to invite and all of that, which are being helped by the, like Neeta said, these are teacher champions, teacher leaders who are taking the role ahead. Yeah. Next question is, does the school have a Zoom account?
No, not necessarily. Right now, at least, Zoom has very generously, normally you could have only 40 minutes if you had a free account, but now Zoom allows you, anybody who comes from a school that's closed has got free access, unlimited time on Zoom.
Right. Okay, the next one.
Yeah, just a reminder, we have 7 minutes left and we have quite a few questions. So if we can be really crisp,
Sure.
We'll answer questions for another 2 more minutes. Yeah.
Sure.
So there's another slide with few questions as well.
So Susan has asked us, how can I learn more how to use the Google Classroom and the Google suite of tools? Good question. It's really easy. Actually, the way I learned it was I signed up for the Google Educator course. It's free and it's actually meant for teachers who have never used them. I'm going to share the link in the chat. Everyone can view it. That's the best way to learn the G Suite, and then to keep applying what you've learned in your classroom. So if we teach you tools one by one, and it's a very nice program. So it goes from a basic to an intermediate and then an advanced, and then you become an expert in the G Suite. So I strongly recommend that you sign up for that course. It's not very time consuming. It's self-paced. You can finish it at your own convenience.
We have a minute to go. And can we also look at the questions on the second slide, please? As well.
So Parveen has asked, have you structured or restructured? Yes, we have. We've had to, because like I said in my presentation, that you cannot, you have to change the way you think about schooling?
I think on that very interesting note, we may have to kind of move towards the closure of this session. Yeah.
Yes, and I think we are anyway going to be circulating a resource list, well-crafted note, which you will be able to access. And quite a few of those questions will be answered, especially about the tools for science and assessments and, those kind of things would be available there. And otherwise, we're always available for taking this conversation ahead. Yeah, Shruti, over to you.
Thanks, Neha. So just summarizing what we've seen in the last two sessions, I think one that resonates with us most is it's very close to Adhyayan's philosophy and framework about, taking all the stakeholders together on the path of change. I think both the panelists, when they spoke about how they have gone ahead and implemented this change and how they have handled this change management, we could very clearly see that they have involved all the stakeholders in the school ecosystem. They have taken parents, students, teachers, including the administrative staff along. So that was one bit. And we also looked at how, irrespective of what the tool was used, it was agnostic in terms of the age or the grade, but it's all related to the planning and understanding of how it could be used for the students. We also looked at how technology can be very friendly. It's not scary at all. So it's just about practice. It's all about learning and relearning. Like we said, that change will always be constant and we would need to continuously go through this cycle. So whether it was because of this unfortunate event or otherwise, I think any change would then push our limits to do more, to do better. So on that note, I would like to share something with all of you. I think I have a technical glitch on my system. I would have to request help.
Yeah, Neeta shared it as well.
Thank you so much, Neeta. So this is what I love about Neeta. She's just not about, technology. Passionate about technology is just that it's so user friendly. She makes it all so easy, right?
Thank you.
So you have a minute, Shruti, before I click the enter button for feedback.
Yes. So the timekeeper says. So yes, I just wanted to thank the team who's been behind the scenes, without whom this event wasn't possible at all. Not one, but two sessions. And here we go. Thank you, Pooja. Thank you, Neha. Thank you, Gauri. Thank you, Annette. And thank you, Kalpesh. They've all been faces behind this program. Thank you very much, one and all. And for the plan ahead, I think I just like to share that this is not the first and the last one. We would have more of these coming up. So that's why we've named it as series. So it would also then be, we would love to see your feedback, of course, and then and the ones which you've already shared when you fill the registration form. We have a whole lot of understanding of what you would want to learn. So, and you would want to explore as tools. So we will be going ahead and curating our series accordingly. And yeah, this is not the end. This is just the beginning. Neha, over to you.
Yeah, so I have shared the link on the chat, and I just got a message saying that it's not clickable. I'm resharing the link. Kindly, let's try Padlet together so everybody could click on that link and type in your feedback. So when you go to the wall, a brick wall, you have a plus sign on the bottom right, which is in pink, and you can share that. I mean, you can put in your feedback there.
While everybody's putting in their feedback, I'd like to thank the Adhyayan team for giving us this opportunity to share share what we've done with other educators. That's what really education is all about, being a collaborative community. And thank you, Pooja, Neha, Shruti, Payal, Kavita, Kalpesh, everyone really. And thank you to the audience for having listened to us so patiently. We are there in case you'd like to connect with us one-on-one. That you can check with Neha. She'll give you our coordinates, and we are happy to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Neeta.
Yeah, thank you, Adhyayan team. Shruti, Neha, Kavita, and Neeta and Pooja. It's a pleasure to have come together again and planning this, and being part of the Adhyayan team is always a wonderful experience to be able to share our learning journey, as well as also to hear a lot of other experiences from everybody else. I have also shared, continuing with Pooja, I've shared the Teach from Home initiative by Google. Do explore that. It gives you a hands-on, step-by-step instructions to explore Google G Suite tools. And yes, of course, we'd love to hear how you are experiencing and using some of these tools in your classrooms and some of your success stories next time. So thank you and all the best.
Okay, I've received a message saying that you're not able to type in the feedback on the Padlet. We just tried it and it was working fine. Okay, what we could do is, can you put in your feedback in the chat itself? If you cannot open the Padlet for some reason. If you just click on the link, I mean, I'm able to open it, but I don't know if somebody's not able to, just type your feedback onto the chat. In terms of what worked for you in the session, any highlights, takeaways, yeah.
Alternatively, you could just share a whiteboard on the screen and people can add text boxes.
Yeah. So that's the whiteboard, and you can actually create a text box and put in your text here itself. So you can click on T, the text, and then you'll be able to create a text. I'm also pasting, I hope you all can read some that are being also pasted from the chat. So thank you everybody for putting in your feedback, and you can leave the meeting sign off as you key in your feedback in the chat.
We're going to be sending